Hi, everyone. My name is Shira Eting. I'm a principal at Vintage. We're an Israeli-based fund that invests in funds, late-stage companies, and secondary investments. We recently established a fund of fund to invest in healthcare funds, and we invested in 7Wire, a fund that we are very excited about. And today I'm here with Alyssa Jaffee from 7Wire that joined them back in 2019. So Alyssa, thanks much for joining us today. And let's start by you introducing yourself and your journey and how you ended up becoming a digital health investor.
Hi, everyone. Alyssa Jaffee. I'm one of the 4 investing partners at 7Wire Ventures. And like the rest of us, for me, I'm an operator turned investor. So I used to launch enterprise technologies in healthcare. I did solution selling for a company called the Advisory Board. They're a large healthcare technology and consulting firm based out of Washington, D.C. I left there. I went to business school, and then I transitioned to the investing side. I worked for 2 smaller funds, and then I actually started my own company. I raised a small round, about $1 million for that business. Ended up transitioning to that board. We actually sold that company, and I went more institutional investing. I went to go work for the Pritzkers, JB, who's now governor of Illinois, his brother Tony, and their fund, which is about $8 billion in AUM, 3 asset classes, and I did exclusively venture for them and mostly healthcare. And I'd known the 7Wire team forever. They were right in my backyard, and from my vantage point, one of the best early stage healthcare funds out there. And so after a long series of events, I ended up coming over, joining the team 4 years ago, and have been here ever since.
So 7Wire within healthcare is a specialized fund, and you focus on what you call empowering the informed, connected health consumer. Can you please shed light on this definition?
Yes. So for us, we have a true north at our fund. We are trying to build companies that help people to be better stewards of their health. We think about investing in technology and services that really meet people where they are in healthcare. And what that means, Shira, is think about you and I getting access to our own information, connecting into the system to really improve our own health outcomes. And our model is what we call an operator-driven model. So we get really involved with our companies. We help them grow. We help them thrive. And that's not just for showing up once a quarter. That's really speaking to our CEOs bi-weekly, weekly, or sometimes daily, depending on what's going on. And for us, we have the benefit of pattern recognition. We have leverage because of our focus. It allows us to better understand the needs for those who are at risk for the cost of care and the buyers of who many of our portfolio companies work with. Our fund is combined between financial and strategic investors, and really looking to help drive value for those companies that we work with.
Okay, and so for the listeners that are not very familiar with you, which investments you won't do out of 7Wire, for example?
For us, we're really focused on digital health investing, and healthcare is a really broad market. And so if you think about biopharma, life sciences, therapeutics, there's a lot going on there. That's not really our focus. Ours is thinking about scalability and the deliver of technology and tech-enabled services to impact people's lives and impact the outcomes on healthcare. If it doesn't have a consumer-focused angle, that's not really a fit for us. So we are really focused on consumer-directed healthcare. We typically play stage-wise Series A, or we'll do late seed, we'll do a little bit of early B, and then we do start companies on our hatch model, in which in that case, we'll do things de novo.
Okay, that's super helpful. So let's talk for a minute about your hatch companies. Can you tell us more about that, maybe through your recent story of Caraway?
Sure. So we're thematic investors. And what does that mean? We spend a lot of time thinking about where we see the world going. We landscape the market opportunities. We focus on subsectors to heat map where all the companies are today, and we identify where we think there's white space. And then we go out and we try to find companies that solve that problem. And sometimes we find those companies, and sometimes we don't. And if we don't, we are very willing to roll up our sleeves and help build. We also have the benefit, as I mentioned, part of our LP base is strategic health plans, providers, pharma, self-insured employers. We have the benefit of having dialogue with them frequently to better understand some of the things that they're looking at how they would interact and engage with a solution to really craft and inform some of the solutions that we're either looking to invest or looking to build. And Shira so kindly mentioned Caraway, which is very near and dear to my heart. It was a major effort on our team as we looked at women's health. We spent a ton of time in women's health and look at all of the opportunities in fertility, maternal care, postpartum, menopause. But we kept going back to this thesis of like, when does a woman really enter the journey? What are some of the pivotal moments? And many of us have had experiences where we enter the US healthcare system as maybe in our teens, need access to birth control, a parent makes us an appointment in an OBGYN, then we turn 18 and we leave home and we effectively fall off the face of the earth. The system doesn't engage with us and we don't engage with the healthcare system. But what's happening at that time is we actually need a lot of things. We're going through a lot of changes, maybe conditions that later affect fertility, mental health and anxiety challenges. And many people are finding themselves on college campuses where they're at a place that's supposed to take care of your housing, your education, your food, your safety, but somehow they're not responsible for your health. And you get this little card with your insurance card with a number on the back, and they say, call this card if you ever have a problem. And what happens is you have millions and millions of people that basically just don't know how to engage at a time that's so crucial for preventative health care. So we finally said, this is the time, this is the problem. We need to help young women gain independence and agency in their healthcare journey. And so we set about to build this company, and we ended up building what's now publicly launched as Caraway. We recruited an amazing CEO. Her name is Lori Evans Bernstein. She was the president of Health Reveal, which sold to Accolade, and have built a really strong team as we think about solving this massive problem. We did launch our MVP and are continuing to launch. We're in 2 states now. We'll be in another 2 states next month, and we'll continue to expand from there. So lots of work to do, Shira, but really was something where we said, enough is enough. That this something, every person we interviewed talked about the challenges they face at this time of their life and in this situation. And we said it was time to really build. And so we did.
I want to take a step back now and talk to you about some of the market trends and opportunities that you're seeing. So as we know, the last couple of years have been turbulent. COVID hit, changed our lives, changed the way we consume healthcare, and recently shifted from pandemic to endemic. We've seen a massive tech bubble that recently exploded and has led us to a downturn. So a lot is happening. What is the new normal that you are seeing, and what are some trends or areas that you're following more closely?
You hit the nail on the head. Valuations were at some all-time highs. And for us, we've been longtime operators and longtime builders. And we've seen a number of market cycles, and we know that valuations will trend towards the mean. But healthcare in general is resilient. Healthcare actually tends to be less impacted by a recession since demand continues to remain high. And there's really a strong need to continue to reduce the cost of healthcare and to improve health outcomes, which we believe digital health really helps to solve. And so some of the trends that we're watching as we think about overall in the market, with fewer IPOs for exits, we do think that some really great companies will actually come back into market. So as you see on the growth side, you're going to see some interesting companies get funded. And then with fewer investors chasing deals with what we'll call hot money, we'll also be able to invest with the discipline that we've demonstrated across our portfolio. And we've always maintained, for us, because of our involvement, we do like to have the economic ownership that justifies our involvement. And so that discipline really carries throughout, despite the economic environment.
One more question about COVID. So during COVID, we saw a shift to virtual only delivery models. And now we're seeing a shift from virtual only to hybrid care models. Can you share your views on this topic, on hybrid care models, maybe through a few examples that you see are working or not working?
There remains a place for improving the consumer experience and to provide healthcare that meets people where they are. We think about healthcare as ubiquitous. If you think about banking, where I can mobile bank on my phone in the app, I can call the bank, or I can walk into a physical location. And healthcare should really transcend and be similar, where we think about as consumers, wherever we are, our healthcare is there to access it when we need it. So a couple of examples of helpful. One is one of our recent investments, 9am Health, a fantastic team we've known for a very long time. Interestingly enough, it was the My Sugar team that we tried to buy at Livongo. Glenn and Lee tried to buy that business and ended up building a lifelong relationship with Frank and his team, of which led us to our 9am investment. And the company is a virtual clinic for chronic conditions, and they're really starting with diabetes. And they deliver testing, assessments, medications, and care at a low fee per member. So really focusing on access and how to think about the delivery of care for some of these conditions. And maybe another example too, as we think about hybrid care, is a company we've invested in called MetaRive. They leverage technology to get the right service to a consumer in their home. And they actually are interesting because they leverage alternative providers like EMTs. And so they do in-person, in-home EMT visits, and they also do virtual telehealth where needed. And so they create this extension of either a plan or provider to ensure that care can be extended into the home.
We spoke about kind of the hybrid care models. Now I want to talk about kind of more sophisticated go-to-market notions. And as you stated at the beginning, 7Wire is focused on the consumer, but you're not only doing B2C companies, right? You're doing also companies selling to payers, for example, as long as there's a kind of a consumer angle to it. And one of the interesting go-to-market notions that people are talking about lately is B2C to B. So if you can just explain this in a sentence and then describe the opportunity you're seeing there.
As we think about the business model of our companies, most of the value in healthcare is still locked up in the incumbency. And while direct to consumer is interesting, many companies, as they continue on their journey, will need to understand how they can monetize through those who are at risk for the cost of care. And they want to see offerings that really improve outcomes at lower costs. And as I mentioned, many of those folks are our partners. They've invested in our fund, they've partnered with our companies as we think about driving value. And one of the things that we really love are companies that engage and empower consumers on the B2C side, but really monetize with a lot of these incumbents with health plans and self-insured employers. And maybe an example here is a company called NoCD, who's done this very creatively. It's a severe mental illness platform, starting with people with obsessive compulsive disorder. And if you think about, if you just went and targeted OCD and claims data, claims are lagging indicators. And frankly, most people, by the time they land in the claims, if you had OCD, you're usually landing as depression, anxiety, substance use disorder. So you're getting misdiagnosed or undiagnosed. So what they did quite thoughtfully is said, we're actually going to do direct-to-consumer acquisition. We're going to go out and focus on finding people who don't really know what this is called, but know that they're having what's called intrusive thoughts, which is incredibly debilitating. OCD is just severely affects your life. It's not don't step on the cracks. It's really challenging for so many millions and millions of people that suffer with this. And so they focus on finding those people, educating them, but then they offer teletherapy solution. They offer a community, they offer tools, they do ERP therapy, exposure response prevention. And in doing so, they actually monetize through the health plans, that they say to the health plans, hey, we're offering a high quality teletherapy solution that we have phenomenal outcomes, better than a lot of in-person outcomes. And this is something that should get reimbursed. And so huge kudos to Stephen Smith, the CEO, and his team. They've gone out and secured contracts with all of the major health plans. They cover, I think at this point, 126 million people in the US. And so now NoCD is a covered service for many people who need it.
So actually it's companies and founders who are doing a lot of the hard job for the payers. So the selling bit is easier later down the road. So we're seeing more and more companies focusing on things that may seem like niche markets. And they offer consumer solutions that are better tailored to address their personal needs. You recently invested in FOLX. That's a digital health solution for the LGBTQIA plus community. So if you can tell us why you're excited about FOLX and the potential of solutions for specific communities more generally.
FOLX, we've known this company forever. The executive chair and the founder of the business, AG, has been a longtime friend and really built this business off her own lived experiences. Today, many queer and trans individuals, they avoid care because they have fear of being discriminated, being mistreated. There's just a lack of culturally competent providers, and they have material affordability concerns. 50% of the LGBTQIA plus population experience healthcare discrimination. 50% of them have had to educate their own clinicians on their unique health attributes. And so ultimately, this was a massive market opportunity to deliver care to a specific community. And for us, you ask more broadly, why do we like this? Well, we're verticalized investors. We think that specific communities make a lot of sense when the status quo doesn't meet the consumer need, because the demand is high, because the opportunity is high to make a lot of change, because they're raising their hands and they're asking for it. They're trying to create it themselves. And so companies that are able to come in and really service these populations really benefit because of how deeply they can penetrate and successful that they can be.
And I'll ask you an obvious question. Don't you think the TAM is too small for such a niche market?
This is about delivering culturally competent care. This is about delivering care to individuals that feel like they're receiving primary and urgent care, not just, looking at hormone therapy replacement and PrEP, but looking at their primary needs, looking at mental health care and supporting them. This is so cumbersome as they think about their journeys and what they go through, that delivering care to these, you call it a niche population. I call it a targeted population, a specific group that you're delivering care. I mentioned OCD. We have a number of companies. We talked about college-age women. We can talk about MSK, oncology, psoriasis, diabetes. This is all about purpose building a solution to solve a problem for a community that is raising their hand, asking for it, and frankly, craving it.
And also the total market for US healthcare is $4 trillion, right? So every niche solution is a few billions at least. So there's room for everyone to play.
Yeah, and you know what? When I said we're verticalized investors, like solutions can't be everything to every person. And if you just kind of spray and pray and do a horizontal solution that is supposed to be for everybody, we find those solutions to be less successful. We think ones that really go deep, ones that understand the problem and community that they're working with, are ones that tend to be most successful. The managing partners of 7wire built Livongo, which was one of the largest companies for chronic conditions. It exited in an IPO and then merged with FOLX Health in an $18.5 billion transaction. The original focus was on diabetes and the experience, frankly, that Glenn had with his son that had personally, and said, we have to fix this. So focusing on real problems is not a bad thing. It's actually a great way to build very successful companies.
Speaking of folks, I want to touch on DEI. So at 7wire, the 3 founders are men, and you joined later in the journey. How are you thinking about building diversity in your firm and in your portfolio companies?
It's a great question. I think for us, we continuously look to diversify our team and our portfolio companies. And I'll say, Shira, while it doesn't happen overnight, we're really proud of the people that we've recruited. We think very thoughtfully about how to bring diversity to our team. And we'll continue to bring more diverse leaders to really help us grow innovative companies. And while the founders were 2 men, we've really grown a lot as a firm. Our sourcing program for new team members favors diverse candidates. And we've had the pleasure of working with amazing diverse CEOs. And they're amazing CEOs who happen to be diverse, and including some of the excellent female leaders. I just got off the phone earlier with Naomi Allen from Brightline, spoke yesterday with Lori Evans-Bernstein from Caraway. We have just tremendous people who are bringing such a thoughtful perspective to growing healthcare businesses. So I'm very excited about the future. I'm very excited about how we continue to infuse diversity of perspective and thought and person into the work that we do.
And any advice from you, Alyssa, for women or other minorities with ambitious career aspirations as yours?
So many people were kind enough to help me along the way. And, I and other 7-layer leaders are always happy to do the same. And I would say for those who are pursuing careers in venture, my advice is probably fourfold. I think the first is to have a passion for technology. The second is to have strong analytical horsepower, really getting to the so what of what it means. Driving original thought, right? What's your unique perspective on this market, this business, this industry? And the last is just to be a lifelong learner. This job is addicting. We get to see the future every single day, and you have to really love to do that.
So let's talk a bit about Israel. So you, like 7 were invested in some Israeli companies, and you know the ecosystem here quite well. And as all of us know, Israeli companies are often long on technology but short on go-to-market, especially in healthcare. Can you share your views on the Israeli ecosystem and maybe provide advice for teams that are looking to build companies in the space?
Yeah, you said it well, Shira. Israelis are amazing technologists, and they also have really committed passions. We've worked with a number of innovative companies in the Israeli market. We Payzen, MetaSafe. Actually, in my prior career, when I was at the Pritzkers, I used to do emerging markets investing. We'd go to Israel 2 or 3 times a year. And we've been very grateful for the amazing people that we've met. And advice, my advice would be to work with partners who understand the US ecosystem, who understand really the go-to-market motion and how to launch, and really understand that there's an incentive structure in place in the US that rewards certain players more than others, and be ready to devote meaningful time to this US market. We've seen that Israeli companies who are most successful do end up coming here and moving here in order to be where their customers are.
What is the one takeaway you'd like healthcare founders and investors and anyone who listens to us now to keep in mind?
Focus on solving real problems. Founder market fit is one of the most powerful things that we look for. Those that have a personal connection to a problem are those really who tend to stop at nothing to build a better world. And the reason we're so excited about investing in health is that it's an opportunity to do well by doing good. And we look for companies that can have an impact on the challenges we all face in achieving the health status that we all desire. Frankly, we are honored to support founders who are looking to make meaningful changes in the world. And we're honored to have amazing partners like you, Shira, and the Vintage team who really see the world like we do.
Thanks much. This has been great. And thanks for the partnership, and looking forward to changing the world together. Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you.